You're tuning in to the Benchwarmers Podcast, brought to you by Ethan and Carlo.
Hi guys, welcome back to the Benchwarmer Podcast. My name is Jenny, and today we are going to be playing a football trivia game with the boys, Ethan and Carlo.
Yeah, buddy!
Okay.
Ready to get this going. Alright, let's do this. Already.
Okay, so the first question is, how many teams make up the NFL?
That's you.
I did it.
Starting this again. Oh my
32
goodness.
teams.
32? Yes,
32.
that is correct.
Ooh, I'm so good.
Okay. Oh, this is yours now. Take that.
Alright, thank you.
First to 10 wins.
Okay.
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 Next question. What did cornerback Darryl Green stuff in his socks?
Tootsie Rolls.
Good
What?
job.
Was that a thing?
Yes. He also went to the school, bro.
Oh, yeah.
Gosh. Okay. In what city is the Cowboys Stadium located?
Arlington.
You
Oh
can't
my
steal my...
gosh.
That's my team! He's stealing my question!
Make sure you put your hands behind your back.
Alright,
Oh, okay.
okay.
He's at an advantage. I'm having to, scoot over. Y'all don't see me.
Ivan,
I'm
make
having
sure you
to,
pay
scoot over.
attention to
It's so
them.
dumb.
Yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty.
Marty Schottenheimer is mentioned
No.
in an Eminem song, Fact or Fiction? Yes, Ethan.
Fiction? No! What?
Fact.
Okay, but
You
you're...
can't take that. That's not fair. No, get that out of here.
Next question.
That's not how that works.
Okay. In what year was the two-point conversion reinstated in the NFL?
Technical foul. Ethan
What?
moved his hand before she finished the question.
Hey, but no, you can do that. You can do that. That's just you taking a risk. No, you can do that.
Okay.
Okay, what's your guess then?
Yeah.
1987.
Wrong.
Dang it.
Yes, Carlo?
I'm gonna guess 1977.
Wrong.
What was it?
What is it?
1994.
Oh.
Oh, it was later than that. Okay,
Not even close.
That's fine. It was
Awesome.
later than I thought. It's cool.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Which company manufactures the Vince Lombardi Trophy?
I don't know. What is it?
Tiffany & Co.
I don't even know that.
Tiffany.
Tiffany.
Okay, well...
Fantastic.
Okay.
Okay. Which two teams are known for always playing on Thanksgiving Day?
That was me.
Okay,
That was me. Cowboys and the Lions. Cowboys and the Lions. That's
There you
easy.
go.
I got one finally.
I'll give you that one.
What did you have?
Okay.
3.
The next question. What is the oldest NFL stadium still in use?
Soldier Field.
Yes. Okay. What quarterback was the victim of the infamous butt fumble?
Mark Sanchez.
What?
There you go.
So
Here's
the
the thing.
butt
Yeah.
fumble
Oh,
is
boy.
it's a very historical event. Let me see the mic real quick.
Okay. Don't put it too close. Don't put it too close.
So the butt fumble, it's a very historical event where Jets quarterback Mark Sanchez ran into his own center, and it was the center's butt, which caused him to fumble the ball and the New England Patriots to score on that play.
Respect.
Yes.
Respect. For real.
I wouldn't want to be in anybody's.
Good job.
Yeah.
Fumble.
Okay. During World War II, so many players were in military service that the Philadelphia Eagles and the Pittsburgh Steelers merged to form what team?
Wait.
Dude.
The Eagles and Pittsburgh Steelers merged to form the Baltimore Colts.
Wrong.
Darn it.
I don't even know what is it.
The Steagles.
The
Oh, I
Steagles?
forgot about
Oh,
the Steagles thing. Oh yeah.
No,
I forgot about the Steagles
The
thing.
Steagles.
Even I knew that.
Okay.
Okay.
What was the importance of a 1939 game between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Brooklyn Dodgers?
The Dodgers.
Wait.
Wait,
The
that's
importance?
Yes, Carlo?
First black player?
No.
Oh, then.
Are we mixing sports there?
No, I don't think that's how
No.
that works.
Dodgers? Dodgers is baseball, no?
Yeah, that's
Brooklyn
like,
It is, yeah.
because it was Jackie Robinson, but I don't know.
I don't know. What was it?
Well, Dodgers.
It was the first to be televised.
Oh, that's actually kind of a big deal.
That's a big deal, yeah.
Okay, next question.
Okay.
Who has the nickname the Gunslinger?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Brett Favre. Favre?
You mean
Favre?
Brett Favre?
Brett Favre. Oh, the gunslinger. Brett Favre. Come on.
I don't know. I don't know how to spell it, but or read it. It's like Favre.
Yeah, Favre.
Favre?
Yeah, that's Brett Favre.
Favre. Favre.
Why
Why is the V before? Because it says Favre,
Yeah,
but then why is the V before the R?
Because English doesn't make sense.
it's a
Can you
weird
say the
name.
card?
That's weird.
Oh, it's like French. It's Favre.
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 Yeah,
Favre.
it's weird.
It's Favre.
Okay, next question.
Okay.
How many years must a player be retired? Ah, put your hand away. Be retired before.
But I want to say it anyway because I know the answer. 7.
No.
What?
5 years.
There you go.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, NBA 7. Right?
No, it's 5 as well.
Well,
Cinco.
then why they? Oh, I'm living in the past.
Yes.
Well, that's on me. I can't count. Okay, that's on me.
Okay, wait. Let's count how many cards
I have 4.
everybody
How about we do it
has.
to 5? Since we're both close to 5.
Yeah.
Cause what? How many, Ethan? Do you have?
Because
Do
he has
another
3, and I have 4.
And
Let's
then
do
do
7.
another round.
7's a good. No, let's just do one round of 7. How about that?
6.
6. Let's do 6 then. 6 is good.
6. Okay.
Yeah.
What is the name of the dance introduced by the 2020 rookie Justin Jefferson?
Oh.
I say right foot crit. Oh, it's a gritty.
Yes. Okay. Next question. The Arizona Cardinals are older than the state of Arizona. True or false?
False.
Wrong.
Oh.
All right. Next question. The NFL is the world's richest professional sports league. Fact or fiction?
It has to be fact. There's no way it's not.
Yeah.
Really? It beats FIFA?
Yeah.
There's
by a
more.
lot.
There's more people in the world that play FIFA. I'm not FIFA. That's football.
You just know.
Oh, yeah. The
Soccer.
other football.
The better one?
Okay. Next question. What is the name of the award offered to an NFL player each year who shows excellence?
Walter Payton, Man of the Year.
Good job.
How many do I
Okay.
have now? 1, 2, 3,
4, 5.
6.
You won.
Oh.
Jeez.
Wow. Good game.
Hombre.
Good game. Good game. Good game. Good game.
GG's in the chat.
Good game.
Wow. Well
Good
done.
game.
Well done, guys. Well
Awesome.
Muy bien.
Alright.
All right. To bring it back to podcast matters, we're coming back over here. We're gonna get back into a podcast over here. It's been a minute since I've seen or heard from y'all. It's been like a year, right? Like
About, yeah.
we disappeared.
Yeah, just things got busy. Life happens.
Mm-hmm.
But we're back.
Hey, we're back and stronger than ever. It's been a fun time.
It has been a fun time. A lot of personal growth. A very interesting NFL season, to say the least.
Dude, this season was on crack, straight up. I'll say it. I don't even care. This season was just on crack.
It
What
was,
was wrong with it?
It was definitely the year of backups, I would say that.
Very true. How many backups like rotated throughout the league? You had like
There was Cooper Rush. There
Mm-hmm.
was Brock Purdy. There was Tyler Huntley.
Gino.
Gino
Gino's
I wouldn't
big.
even say Gino. Gino wasn't a backup, but Gino was definitely a surprise, though. No
But
one
he
thought
was
would-
former Jets and Giants backup.
Former.
Then to come into this, you just like
Bailey Zapp.
Bailey Zapp coming
Bailey
in
Zapp
doing
held his
absolutely.
own. He almost beat Green Bay. So, very interesting year.
Yeah.
A lot of surprises
Mm-hmm.
for starters. I mean, the Detroit Lions were definitely a surprise.
They were. They
I mean,
really
Dan
were.
you can tell Dan Campbell has changed the culture and the philosophy with that organization, and there's a lot of high hopes for anyone that is a Detroit Lions fan.
Man, biting kneecaps. If that's the way to win games, that's the way to win
To
games.
win
You know.
games. I mean, there was no in between with the Lions. It was either they get blown out by 40 or they keep it a close game, but they always keep you on edge, and it was always entertaining with the Lions.
But you know they're always gonna fight. They're always gonna fight.
no
'Cause
matter what happens.
Before
they're
what you've
always
seen with the
fighting.
Detroit Lions is it's a program that was built on just we've accepted the fact that we suck.
Yeah.
It's been that way for 50 plus years. They've
Mm-hmm.
been the same. And then to see Dan Campbell just kind of take this turnaround and decide, you
It's
know what?
exciting.
Let's do something with this.
It's
yeah,
very exciting.
Yeah,
And-
it's awesome.
With, continuing to play their cards right in the past drafts that they've been in, a lot of their guys that they've gotten have been successful. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe a couple years or 5 years at most, they, get into that conversation of, maybe these guys are finally contenders or something like that.
Maybe they can actually win a playoff game too. Who knows?
Maybe. It has definitely been a while since, what was it, 91?
91, yeah.
Against
Barry Sanders years, yeah.
Against your Dallas Cowboys.
That hurts.
Who else?
That hurts.
Who else?
Who else would it be? To be fair, we were in like a rebuild because we were trying to figure out, because Troy Aikman had was he rookie? Not even rookie?
He wasn't a rookie, but he was there. He was definitely there at the
Troy
time.
was barely there. Emmett, Michael Irvin, they were all young and they hadn't developed yet and they hadn't gotten the chemistry yet. Once Emmett just got the ball moving, becoming the leading rusher in the NFL, everything.
Well, not only that, but
cemented.
just Jimmy. I think what a lot of people don't give credit to is Jimmy Johnson. And I do believe that if he
Facts.
didn't resign as coach of the Dallas Cowboys, they probably would have won maybe 4 or 5 Super Bowls at least.
Yeah. He was incredible.
Because they were the team to beat. Because you could tell, even when they got Barry Switzer, despite all the talent that they had, you could tell, even Troy Aikman at Mantis, the team wasn't the same, despite how talented that team was. Jimmy Johnson was the man that shifted the culture and made everyone better.
No, he really, really was. It's crazy because you've gone on a absolute coach carousel for the last 25 years.
Yeah.
You've been through Parcells, Wade Phillips, Jason Garrett for the longest tenure of
Mike
all
McCarthy.
of them. And then McCarthy's been the next one. And you could argue that someone like Dan Quinn could take over unless he gets snapped from somebody else. I don't think McCarthy's going to last a while because I think Jerry has it in his head. He's seen this with Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett had a 10-year tenure, did nothing with it, had 5 8-8 seasons, did nothing as a head coach. And to see McCarthy basically repeat his formula, at least he's winning.
He is winning, I'll give him that, but they haven't gotten past the divisional.
I think that leads really, really well into that point of the recap of the Dallas Cowboys season. You know what I mean? The resounding boos in the crowd. Here we go. Golly, everyone hates us. Why? What did we? Okay, that's fair. Actually, never mind.
Because when y'all always say every year that this year is our year,
I didn't. In my defense, I didn't. I made every single bet to say that I knew it wasn't our year. I made a bet saying that I would write the dumbest shit on my forehead just to prove a point that it's not our year. That was all I was doing.
I mean, all they had to do was just make the NFC Championship.
And they couldn't do that.
They
And
didn't
I
do
knew
that.
they wouldn't do that.
They lost the same way they did last year.
On a dumbass play. Here's what I'm glad about. The one thing I can hang my hat on, we beat Tom Brady and we vanquished the demon. That's all I'm happy about. As a Cowboys fan, that's all I can really hang my hat on at this point. You know what I mean?
Yes, but it still took y'all 23 years.
Okay, I don't care how long it took us. We did it. We vanquished the demon. He's gone. And now he's going to the Raiders or something.
We'll get into that.
We'll get into that later on, but it looks rough for Brady afterwards.
How about your Cowboys?
How how about them Cowboys, huh? That's about the best we can say.
How about them cowgirls?
How about them Cowboys?
The Cowboys.
I'd agree with the audience right there. I mean, I will give you this. The defense did literally everything it did that it should have done against a QB like Brock Purdy, who
Guess who sold us?
who is a rookie. I mean, yes, but I
Yes.
do think Brock Purdy is good, but granted, he is a rookie, and I think the defense did everything it could. Granted, they did allow George Kittle to make that insane catch, and they also Trayvon Diggs dropped that crucial interception that I'm sure would
That
have
hurt.
changed the game.
That hurt.
But the biggest issue, and I think a lot of Cowboys are now discussing, is Dak a part of the future?
Here's my thought process as a Cowboy fan myself. I think that I don't think it's our quarterback. And hear me out on this one. While I think a lot of teams, and we could dream as Cowboys fans for a better quarterback because, to be honest, Dak is a bit of the middle of the line quarterback.
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said for the fact that it's really, really, really hard to find an incredible quarterback.
Right.
Because I don't think you can get much better than Dak. Do I think he's top 10? No.
No. I mean, you could make the argument, but it is very, very hard to find a franchise QB, let alone to find a franchise QB with that star on your helmet.
For real.
Already enough is got to be the most difficult thing to do, not to mention for you to scout for that QB, but also for that QB to go in that situation and play for quote unquote America's team and everything.
Yeah, no kidding. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
No kidding. It's very, 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 very true. I think the biggest problem was scheming, and I will continue to say that it really comes down to sometimes it's just scheming. I don't think Kellen Moore is a great offensive coordinator because he doesn't utilize... Look at the 49ers.
Right.
Watching them against the Cowboys...
The run game.
They stuck to... It took them 3 quarters to break open anything, and they knew that. Because they knew it was a tightly contested game, and as soon as they started to get CMC moving, in the 4th quarter, they waited 3 quarters because they were patient.
They were patient. Well, not only that, but it's like... The more you keep running the ball, and especially the Cowboys' offense wasn't doing much either, so they were still in the game, and they kept pounding the ball, and then by the 4th quarter, obviously the defense was already gassed and everything, and CMC did his thing.
Yeah, and it came down to that. It really just came down to the fact that the
49ers they played a better game. They strategized a lot better than Dallas did. They stuck to their game plan and they trusted their personnel that they had.
Patience really became a key factor in it, I think.
And it's also like the 49ers, dude, their defense is very good.
Yeah,
They kept them in the yes, Dak definitely did struggle. He did make self-inflicted wounds for the Cowboys. But you also have to give the 49ers defense credit. They are just that good. Every single play, they were getting after the ball. They were getting after Dak. They were pressuring Dak. They were forcing him to make those errors. Not only that, but you could tell, it seemed like every time there was some miscommunication because they were all in their head and everything. And it seemed like every single time, safety blitzes were working super well for them.
Yeah, they really found every way because there were so many plays that Dallas had and could have had that were just blown up.
Yeah.
That looked like they had potential because, if you look at scheming, that should work against them.
Right.
But the pass rush just blew them up.
It's just, their defense is just that good.
I think one other factor that a lot of people didn't talk about is Dak Prescott and Michael Gallup's connection, or lack thereof.
Right.
Because if you look at the first interception on the game, you're watching Michael Gallup come and run a comeback route, right?
Right.
He misses on that. Dak misses him because Michael Gallup thinks he's going to keep going.
Right.
Dak thinks he's running a comeback route. He's going to come back for him. And so Dak throws a pick.
Yeah.
So a lot of people blame Dak for that interception, and I still blame Dak for missing that throw because it still was pretty underthrown. But at the end of the day, connection just wasn't there because...
It also comes down to the route running and everything and making that read.
And it sucks because we paid Michael Gallup a premium. We paid Zeke a premium, not to mention... Rare Zeke W, I just heard about... I don't know if it was earlier today or yesterday. He's taking a pay cut.
He's willing to take a pay cut in order to keep Pollard. And I do think and once Pollard went down, that's definitely when the cracks started showing for Prescott. But that's how it is for a lot of teams and that's why. So look at New England. They don't have any star running backs or anything like that. But they have at least 3 or 4 really good, solid running backs that can get the job done. So everyone is fresh. And if one guy goes down, okay, it's not a big deal. Everyone has their different strengths and weaknesses. Ramondre Stevenson, he's more of that bruising power back, kind of almost like a Marshawn Lynch sort of.
Right.
Or you have Damian Harris. He's got the power and speed. And then, back then, before James White retired, he was your third down receiving back.
Right.
So you always have to have those options. So I think, yes, it is great for some of these teams like Minnesota Vikings or the 49ers or the New York Giants to have, these superstar running backs and everything. That's great. But at the end of the day, when you're paying all this money and stuff, running backs is a position that doesn't last forever. They start breaking down by mid-20s, and a lot of them don't even make it to their 30s. So I think it's a luxury, but at the end of the day, I feel like it comes down to depth. And even though the 49ers do have a star running back at Christian McCaffrey, you could definitely tell they were, switching in and out with the other backs. And even those other backs were doing well, but
Right.
also because of how dominant that O-line is with Trent Williams and all those guys.
That's part of it. Trent Williams and that just watching the 49ers O-line, they knew how to stop Micah Parsons. They knew how to stop DeMarcus Lawrence, all of those guys. Granted, they did make plays,
Yes.
and they did it. I mean, it was a struggle for the first 3 quarters,
Mm-hmm.
but because of the resiliency of the 49ers offensive line, you could tell that it was just like Trent Williams is just he's probably the best left tackle in the league.
Yes.
You could argue could argue that. Really could argue that.
You
Plus, if you just watch the Cowboys O-line, like it's good but not incredible.
Right.
And so I think
It's not what it was like, back in 2014 or 2016 where everyone was raving about how amazing Zach Martin, Tyron Smith, Travis Frederick, all those guys were. There definitely is some holes. I do think, continuing to develop their guys and finding, Tyron Smith's replacement and...
right.
Because that's tough to do, especially to go from guys like Travis Frederick and Tyron Smith. I will say Tyler Smith has done a pretty good job at stepping up in the
Right.
position that he was. And especially for how much doubt a lot of people had in him.
Right.
A lot of people were already... And I remember on draft night, a lot of people were questioning that pick. Like, really? They reached for this guy. He's not worth the first-round pick. He's going to be a bust, all this and that. But for the position that he was, to step up, behind Tyron Smith, which is, like, we can both agree he's definitely a first-ballot Hall of Famer. No doubt.
Oh, agreed. 100%.
But to do that and to step up, and especially for the Cowboys with, high expectations of going to the Super Bowl and everything, he did his job and everything.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think one of the things that Tyler Smith did really good is he let Cooper Rush game manage, especially earlier in the season.
Yeah.
Remember, Tyron Smith was out for a little bit because of his injuries.
Right.
I think watching him step up to the plate and making sure Cooper Rush was protected in the pocket, also so that run game could get going. The reason why they were so good and why Cooper Rush was basically undefeated besides that Eagles game, because
the
remember,
run game.
it was the run game. They can just bruise teams with the run game.
Well, not only that, it's just the speed and elusiveness they had with Tony Pollard, and then the short down and distance they could bring in Zeke. He's that bruiser, punch it right in the middle.
There was depth to be had there. Honestly, like when Pollard went down, that was kind of, as a Cowboys fan, when I knew, I don't know if we can win this one.
Yeah.
Now it's going to have to rely on Dak in the passing game. Dak, watching his reads, he was too focused on CeeDee Lamb. While, granted, CeeDee Lamb was having an incredible game, one of the greatest games I've seen in recent memory of him. You can't force it to him every time.
Right.
2 really, really terrible plays that could have been touchdowns were because of Dak forcing the ball to CeeDee Lamb.
Right.
The first being in the second quarter with CeeDee Lamb on a little comeback. He went inside and then switched out, and then Dak forced it to him, pick right there.
Right.
In the fourth quarter, T.Y. Hilton was wide open for a touchdown.
Right.
If you just watch the route, he's running on a post. He's right there, wide open. Dak decides to throw middle to CD.
Right.
And Fred Warner's all over that. He sees it immediately. He
Right.
knows that's where Dak's looking.
Right.
That's my other point. Dak is predictable.
Right. And you can, the argument is there is like with CD, with both of those balls, he had it in his hand, but at the end of the day, he's double covered. Those are those 50-50 balls that can go either way. No matter how good you are as a receiver, if you're double teamed, you got to make the bet. Someone's going to be open.
An open receiver is always going to be better than a double cover receiver, no matter how good that talent is.
Right.
Always.
Right.
And forever. Especially if it's the NFL. Like, I don't really care. An open receiver is just going to be better than a double covered receiver. That's
Right.
just how it goes.
Right. Because you would rather have that favorable matchup, and maybe he's like, okay, maybe you don't get like the big play or whatever, but you have the ball and you still have the chance to score. Rather, now the other team has the ball and they have a chance to score.
Right. That kind of goes into one of my other points, which is, what does Dallas do from here? And I think a lot of people were wondering, what's the next step?
Right.
Do they fire Dak? Do they fire? Who are they going to fire? Like, basically, who needs to be taken out?
Right.
My opinion on this matter would be, I think Dak struggled a lot because he didn't have a number 2 receiver. Right. Him and Michael Gallup missed that connection because Michael Gallup didn't come back from his 20 ACL till like halfway through the season.
Well, not only that, I think the biggest thing was them getting rid of Amari Cooper.
That was just dumb. That was just dumb. I know they had to shed contracts, and you come back to it. All seems to drive back from when they paid Zeke a bunch of money.
Right, and I think at the end of granted, Amari Cooper was getting paid that huge contract for a player that wasn't putting up numbers for the money that he was getting. Not only that, he was always constantly injured, and it was always the same discussions like Amari Cooper's good, but when healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do think Amari Cooper would have helped Dak a lot, especially this season. But even then, it's like, okay, they're trying to free up cap space and all that. The problem is, you only get a 5th-round pick out of a guy like Amari Cooper when you could at least maybe have gotten like a 2nd round. Like you probably a 1st round was definitely a reach, but you could maybe like 2nd or 3rd round.
I think a 3rd rounder would have been a good value for him because you could get a decent 3rd round wide receiver option. Look at the Packers, and I know, well, it was 2nd round, but again, you could have like traded up or something. 2nd round pick, they ended up getting Christian Watson.
Right, and
Christian Watson became their number 1.
Even Michael Gallup, he was their 3rd round pick.
Right, and that was exactly, you still get good talent, while not transcendental talent maybe.
Right.
You still get really, really good talent in the 2nd and 3rd round, and I don't see any reason to believe that they shouldn't have gone out and tried to get a 2nd or 3rd rounder, especially a 3rd rounder for like a decent wide receiver. Think about it, just like logically. Then Dak would have still had his number 2. You would have freed up all that cap space because of that rookie contract.
Right.
It just would have made sense.
Yeah.
But instead, they opted to throw him out of here. Like I know they were trying to shed a contract, but you at least have to try to go searching.
Get
for
something. Get the value that will help benefit your team. Because unless you're like Bill Belichick or someone that could turn that 5th round into like a Hall of Famer, I mean, it's gonna have to work, especially with Jerry with the mindset where he's been, in the same situation for 27 years now, wanting that Super Bowl and everything, and will do anything to get that Super Bowl. You have to make moves that are gonna put you in the best situation to win right now.
Right. I think that's the biggest thing. And if you're in, I think the Cowboys are in win now mode because
I think so too.
they really. If Dak had played just a little bit better, if there was that one touchdown, if there was the one point in time where our punt returner actually returned the distance and was able to go all the way, we were like 1 or 2 plays away from winning that game.
Yes.
We really were. And I think, would we have beat the Eagles next week? Probably not.
Probably not, but they would have at least made the NFC Championship, with something they haven't done in forever.
That's a step in the right direction.
Right.
They were contenders. On paper, if you look at their roster, barring a couple of things, they looked like contenders.
But it's always the same issue. They look great on paper every single year. They have all this talent and everything, but they fail to play when it matters most.
It's execution.
It's either the coaches, players, or a combination of both. And I think at the end of the day, it all comes back to Jerry. Because I don't think Jerry is going to... The only reason why Jerry is going to want Mike McCarthy is because Mike McCarthy is a yes man.
Yeah.
That's why, Jerry at the moment, and who knows, maybe he'll surprise us and fire him and try to get Sean Payton and everything. But at the same time, I think, while yes, Sean Payton had Drew Brees and everything, I feel that Mike McCarthy and Sean Payton are almost the same coach.
To an extent, yeah. I think Mike McCarthy lacks the, quarterback whispering ability that I feel like Sean Payton has. And I think that can tap into Dak a little bit. Plus, I think he's a better offensive schemer. I'll say it. Again and again, I think he's a better... defense, sure, he has his troubles, but that's why they brought in someone like Dennis Allen so that they could have somewhat of a defense.
Because that offense, especially with Kamara and Michael Thomas and all those guys, and even when they had, Ted Ginn Jr., they were going off and everything.
Right, and I think that's part of what he brings to the table. He's an offensive mastermind.
Right.
While he's not a defensive mastermind, that's what we have Dan Quinn.
Right.
Dan Quinn has been phenomenal, I think, as a Dallas Cowboys coach. And I think a lot of one of the things that gets unnoticed is I think what could happen in 2 or 3 years' time, and I'd really love for it to happen, I think McCarthy gets fired and Dan Quinn gets promoted, provided he doesn't get taken from us by another team.
By the Broncos or someone.
Which I could see. I could absolutely see.
I also feel like Jerry is at a point where he's going to do anything to try to keep the pieces. Especially, I think he's trying to, not mess up in the past where he, let one of his coordinators go and everything.
Right.
Like Sean Payton.
Yeah.
who was once a part of the Cowboys.
He was, and that's why I keep thinking he could roll back in because he already has connections with Jerry.
He does have the connections, but is it worth tanking for the future though?
I don't think it's worth tanking, and they're in win now mode. But I don't know if McCarthy can get them over the hump.
And
I know he did it once, but I just don't know.
But it's different. Like, granted, they're in win now mode, and like, okay, trade away their future. But it's different with like the Rams that did it, and then the Cowboys, because the Rams, they literally had all the pieces. They just literally they were the definition of a quarterback away. Same with like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They were a definition of a quarterback
Tampa Bay
away.
especially.
Quarterback away, and they had the head coach and personnel to do it and everything.
But that's the problem. That's what I'm getting back to.
Yeah.
Dallas does not have the personnel to do it.
Right.
Because if they had the personnel to do it, I think they would do it. Even if sure, Dak Prescott is not a top 10 quarterback. I still think that based on their run game and based on their defense, look at the Niners.
Right.
I mean, we resemble the Niners in a lot of ways.
Yes.
That's why that game was so close for as long as it was.
Right.
Because we're two both very balanced teams who, like, when put in the right situations, can perform really, really well.
Right.
And that's what happened to the Niners. They got in the right situation, and they started building up, and then they went on the win streak that they did with the third-string quarterback because they stuck to the run game, they stuck to their narrative.
They have the good system and the
Right.
right offensive mind to do it. Not to mention, you have to remember, the 49ers, there was a point in time where they were bottom of the barrel team.
They
and
tanked.
everything. They tanked. But they got the right pieces and everything and build up in the draft. And then, trade away some assets and everything and keep building from that.
Right.
And I think bringing in Kyle Shanahan was definitely a major step in the right direction for them.
Right. They knew, they saw what he did to the offense of the Falcons.
Yeah.
They were a juggernaut. They
Yeah.
were incredible.
Right.
I mean, barring a 28-3 blown lead, which a lot of that blame does go to him, they were incredible
They
for
were
that whole
still
season.
very good off. They were still very
Watching
good
that NFC Championship game against the Packers, that's when I was honestly kind of nervous for New England fans because I said, this is the one team that I think can beat them.
off. Right.
And for the first 3 quarters, it looked like they were going to smack them down.
Right. But they've then forgot to just, milk the clock and everything like that.
They didn't run the ball. They didn't do
Right.
this very simple thing.
And then Tom Brady just did what Tom Brady did.
Yeah, and so that ended up the way it did.
Right.
So I think that does actually lead really well into your Patriots. Where do you think they go from here? What's the move? What do you think they do?
Well, big news today. New England just signed Bill O'Brien as their offensive coordinator. Definitely a lot of controversy, mainly just with the fact of, what happened against the Texans versus Kansas City, or
Yeah.
what happened with DeAndre Hopkins
Yeah.
and that whole debacle and all that jazz. He is definitely a solid head coach. He's a terrible man. He's a terrible GM. Like, we can both. He is a very horrible GM. Offensive coordinator. I mean, everyone brings back the 2011 New England Patriots when they had Aaron Hernandez and Rob Gronkowski, juggernaut of an offense.
Yeah.
He definitely went to Bama. A lot of people were saying, "Oh, Bama's offense wasn't that good this year." I mean, they still put up numbers nonetheless.
No kidding.
They still put up the numbers and everything, and it was also kind of the defense as well for most of the games.
The defense gave up 52 to Tennessee.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah.
Like, how do you... You're not going to... I don't see how you're going to win a game when you give up 52 points to Tennessee and Hendon Hooker.
Right.
I just don't think that's possible.
Yeah. And I think what helps most is that, okay, they're getting a guy that at least knows how to run a competent offense, because it was literally torture trying to watch Matt Patricia run a running back draw play on 3rd and 20 or screen passes every single time, when Mac, you could tell he was like, he knows he can make the throw and everything, and he knows he has a favorable matchup, because Mac has the intangibles and he knows how to read and everything. And I feel like when Patricia finally is like, all right, when Mac once took over and everything, then the offense finally did their thing and everything. Granted, they are like the Cowboys or the 49ers, where when the run game's going, the offense is going. But I think Mac is also, if you trust him and everything, if you build around him, I think he can be that guy.
Yeah.
And I think having a guy that can run a competent offense, and then also you're bringing in a coach that knows Mac and everything and how he works and what you need and everything. I think that is something really crucial if you want to build, if this guy is going to be your franchise.
Yeah.
Now, going into year 3, I do think there's going to be a lot of pressure on him because, there's going to be that 5th-year option. Is the team going to pick it up after his 3rd year, or are they going to drop it? Mm-hmm. Now, and obviously, as spoiled as us Patriots fans are for 20 years of dominance, it's definitely, the realizations like dynasties always end. I mean, so will we be back? I mean, if they, play their cards right, maybe. Do I think it's going to be like 20 years run? Probably not. That was a once in a generational thing. It just, the way everything came to be was just, it was almost like a movie or it was almost a video game almost. Yeah. Like, it couldn't have been any perfect the way that organization was run, the way they were able to, continue their dominance, especially people always question like, oh, Brady's getting older, what are they going to do? Or, oh, they don't have a number 1 receiver or this and that. But they were still able to keep in contention no matter what.
Yeah, which is impressive to say the least.
And going into this, it's kind of a rebuild and everything. I think the main focus, yes, like definitely cornerback for sure, because New England's always been like defense. Mm-hmm. And then especially their O-line definitely needs to be addressed. Tackle was a huge issue this year. But I think the other thing, most importantly, is you have to get Mac Jones that number 1 guy.
Absolutely.
Especially like in this day and age, it's like, I know it's like, yes, their offense is around the run game, but at the same time, it's like, this guy is your future and everything. If you want to keep him and make him happy and everything, and not repeat like what happened with Tom Brady, where like, it's like you didn't appreciate him, you weren't giving him these number 1 options and everything like that. You need to give him a receiver that is at least able to help him and able to put points on the board, because that was their biggest struggle they had this year. Was every time they get in the end zone, 3 points.
Right.
And you're not going to win games by only putting 3 points.
They couldn't finish it off. They couldn't actually just get... Like, red zone scoring for them just didn't exist.
It didn't exist.
Like, they couldn't score touchdowns in the red zone.
Right.
It just... They would always stall out.
And I think it's a good thing because, they already have their 2 tight ends with Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. We know Hunter Henry, who he is. He's that good receiving red zone threat. Mm-hmm. And I feel like Jonnu Smith, while a lot of people are questioning the contract that he is getting paid because he was paid a lot of money.
Paid quite a bit, yeah.
He was paid quite a bit. I do feel like he's being very underutilized for what he brings to the set. Because I remember in Tennessee, they would use him in the passing game. They'd use him in the run game. Sometimes they would even use him as a back and everything.
True.
Like he has multiple skill sets, and I feel like it's not being used for the past 2 years.
He was a Swiss Army knife of sorts.
He was.
You can see.
And I think it's either maybe the system or the cultural. And we'll see how it goes in the offseason. Maybe they cut him. Do they trade him? Do they draft another tight end? Because there's a lot of mock drafts saying that they want to draft a tight end in the 1st round.
I don't know why you'd do that. That's my personal. If I was the Patriots, you need a number 1 threat.
They need a number 1
that can actually go downfield.
Right. They need a receiver or an O lineman. I mean, tight ends. I mean, it doesn't even have to be in the 1st round. You can get in 2nd, 3rd. Look at Aaron Hernandez or Rob Gronkowski. They weren't 1st rounders.
Not even close.
But look, Rob Gronkowski, 2nd round, future Hall of Famer, 1st ballot.
Yeah, easily is going to be up there.
Yeah,
I think that's part of it. They just underutilized a lot of guys. And I think that was, in part, Matt Patricia is just a terrible offensive coordinator.
Right. The defense still did its job though, and I think Gerard Mayo. I think he's going to be a hell of a DC, and I think he's probably he might be the next in line for head coaching for New England.
That, I could see that, especially,
Bill's
time's going to be up soon.
It's eventually, and mainly he's a former player, and he knows the system, and he knows what he's doing and everything. He has the same mindset. He's, the defense is the only reason that was keeping New England afloat.
Truly.
Most of the games.
Watching
the
that,
defense.
It was literally y'all. You stopped the Bengals, in that first little bit. Y'all should have beat the Bengals.
Right.
y'all had a lot of games where y'all probably could have won, but it came down to y'all's red zone offense being non-existent.
Right.
And it came down to, like, it was just simply Matt Patricia's not the guy.
Right.
Like, I think y'all could have, if y'all had, like, I mean, literally, if y'all had one more win, y'all would have gotten it over the Dolphins.
Right.
And y'all would have been actually in the playoffs and would have had a shot to take on Buffalo, who was weakened this time in the playoffs and
Yeah.
did nothing.
Right. Because if they struggled against the Dolphins, I mean, third times, I mean, there's possibility that, okay, maybe they have a shot.
Yeah, anything's possible.
Anything is possible, especially in the playoffs. The thing with the playoffs is, like, everyone is 0-0, no matter what. So even if, like, you're favored, there's always a chance. Because everyone was already, the disrespect that the Buffalo Bills and Kansas City Chiefs already had on the Cincinnati Bengals by selling tickets saying, hey, Bills, Chiefs, AFC are already on sale.
Yeah.
And look how that turned out.
That's a perfect segue into, let's just talk about the playoffs a little bit. Oh my goodness. This divisional round didn't live up to the hype at all because we had the wild card round. Everyone was saying, oh, it's just a bunch of blowouts. I said it beforehand. I was like, oh, this is gonna be a terrible wild card round.
Right.
Because on paper, it looked like a lot of games where it was just backups.
Right. And they're going to be blowouts. But all the games except for, the Cowboys.
Yeah, the Cowboys.
And Tampa.
Woo, we did something.
Yeah.
Finally.
Other than the kicking game and special teams. But,
hey, Brett Maher sapped all of our curses. Hey, he took them all on.
Yeah. But,
he had to.
No, but all the games nonetheless were very, very competitive. They were very close. The Bengals Ravens, that was a surprise. The
Bills
Dolphins. I mean, heck, even the Vikings and Giants game was a good game.
Yeah, all of them were really, really good. I think the divisional was a disappointment. It was just a disappointment.
Yeah.
The one good game, I think, was Dallas and the 49ers.
Yeah, I mean, even then, it's like, it wasn't much of an offense game, but I mean, hey, it was just old school.
Old school defensive, run the ball.
Run the ball.
I liked the game. Like, it was interesting to watch it.
I mean, I think Jacksonville, they almost had a shot at pulling it off, and especially out of coming back from a 27-point deficit.
Yeah,
That was...
Anything's possible.
I mean, definitely Trevor Lawrence is that guy. Doug Peterson has 1,000% have changed the culture. He's the guy.
Right.
He is the guy for them, and I think Trevor Lawrence, obviously there's going to be high expectations for him going into year 3 and everything, but I do think, that defense, we already know how that defense is. I think their defense is always their bread and butter, but I think if they work on their offense and, just give Trevor Lawrence one more year, I think they could be in it.
Hey, I said at the beginning of the year, and a lot of people doubted me, and a lot of people said I was just completely wrong. Trevor Lawrence, it was a Peyton Manning-esque story, right? Mm-hmm. Peyton Manning drafted in, I don't remember if it was 98 or 99 or 97. Mm-hmm. Gosh, I can't remember years to save my life. But Peyton Manning drafted 20-some-odd years ago. Mm-hmm. Number 1 overall pick, had the most interceptions of all time his rookie year. Mm-hmm. Trevor Lawrence either tied or broke that, I'm pretty sure. It was damn close. Mm-hmm. And what ended up happening was you saw Trevor Lawrence have a big turnaround, just like Peyton Manning in year 2. Mm-hmm. And I think that's only going to get better. Do I think he's Peyton Manning? No. But do I see the potential? Yeah.
I mean, he was the number 1 overall pick for a reason and everything.
The most highly touted. They said he was the most highly touted first-round pick since
Peyton Manning. Since Peyton Manning, since John Elway, all those guys. I mean, especially now that he has Doug Peterson, which we saw what he did with Philly.
Right.
Granted, his final year definitely was soured. I do think part of it was on Carson Wentz. Because after he tore his ACL, he just has not been the same, especially for being the number 2 overall pick. For the team that traded up to get you and everything, he hasn't been the same since. And I think after this season, I do think his job as a QB is in jeopardy.
Yeah.
I mean, he might be signed somewhere as a backup, but I think in terms of starter, I think that window is very much, if not, it's already closing.
Yeah, no, I think he's done. He had such a fall off. And I love to say that the Colts are the quarterback. They're just the retirement home of quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. That's where quarterbacks go to die. Mm-hmm. That's where quarterbacks go to retire and their careers. Yeah. That's it. That's the quarterback graveyard. Because you watch the first one. Who was the first one? Golly.
There was
Phillip Rivers.
Jacoby Brissett.
Jacoby Brissett went over there for a little bit, and there was Carson Wentz.
And then Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan, which, his career is done. He's already in the broadcast booth. Like, it was that fast.
Right.
Like, seeing that, it's like, I kind of have this feeling, and we're touching on this with Brady, and I think we can kind of fit it in now and talk about the rest of the playoffs in a little bit.
Right.
My prediction is he's going to the Colts.
Right.
I think it's that end of the career thing, and I think it's the Colts are going to pull kind of all the strings together.
Right.
They're going to take Brady and take a shot at it, and it's not going to go anywhere.
Right.
Because, I don't know, that's just how it's going to be.
I think, it's either going to be one or two things. Either Brady is finally going to realize, like, dude, like, it's time. I really believe that he should have retired after he won number 7 with Tampa.
Yeah.
Because he should have gone off in the sunset. It's like, you're on top of the world and everything. I get it. You want to break all these records. You want to prove a point. But now it's like, there's drama outside of football now. It's really showing, like, regression is starting to appear. A lot of these throws that, we'd be used to seeing, it's like, he would make that easily. You can tell he's not as fast anymore and anything. Father Time is catching up, and I don't care if, like, you're on Himalayan salt and avocado and all this jazz and everything. Like, you can have the best workout regimen and the best diet and everything, and it's like, okay, you may be able to withstand, but at the end of the day, you're playing a very physical game. You've been playing for over 20 years. You've been, getting hit left and right year after year after year and everything. When you're playing a sport like football, Father Time is going to catch up with you no matter what. Unless you're just, have cybernetic enhancements, or we get there one day, which I wouldn't be surprised if,
Honestly.
we're in the future and Tom Brady has cybernetic enhancements and it's just a cyborg and everything, then maybe.
Anything's possible.
But I think he could either retire, or I could see him possibly going to the Raiders. I think, granted, the Raiders do have a lot of drama and their culture and everything, but they do favor in terms, okay, they got they have a number 1 threat, they have a good running back, they have a solid O-line, they also have a good tight end in Darren Waller.
Yeah, they have the pieces that he needs. Plus Josh McDaniels, not to mention, like,
Josh McDaniels, they have that connection.
Prior connection.
Yeah, it's that connection and everything.
He knows how to scheme Brady into the system, which is scary because I'm not much of a Raiders fan myself.
Right.
And Tom Brady to the Raiders would be really flashy. For Vegas, like, my goodness, that would go. The headlines would be crazy.
Yeah, because it's like he's going to Vegas. It's Tom Brady going to Vegas. I mean, it would be it'd be a headline for whatever team he goes to. Granted, there's rumors saying, like, hey, maybe he's going back to New England and stuff like that. I think everything that has happened with New England between him, Bill, and Kraft, I think, like, okay, it's over.
Bridges are burned.
It's over, and I think the other thing is, like, the Patriots it's not like, Mac Jones is the problem, we just need a quarterback. They need a lot of other things than just a quarterback. They still need a receiver, they still need a good secondary, they need to fix, their linebacking core was very solid with Matthew Judon.
Right.
Of course, Matthew Judon was the man carrying the defense as usual.
Really, yeah.
Defensive line, Christian Barmore, I mean, he's a huge guy that a lot of people don't talk about. Because you remember last year when Barmore was in, he made, like, right off the bat, he made a huge impact. But this year, he was out a few games, and that run-stop defense and everything, it was just like, at times would get gashed and everything. I think, addressing the D-line, continuing to get, you want big guy, you want, like, that Vince Wilfork or someone like that again.
Yeah.
But they still need a lot more pieces than just a QB. I think Matt can be that guy. If not, hey, maybe Bailey Zapp showed potential and everything.
Yeah. I think they don't have to be super, super reliant on the quarterback. It's honestly kind of, to an extent, a similar situation to where Dallas is in.
Right.
To where it's hard to find a guy that's better than the guy they've got now. So why try to, and why not just work with what you've got and try to get a running back?
Because even if they get, say, like, okay, they trade and decide to go one out the draft. Well, now you're back at square one, because I don't think you're going to get a rookie QB and just automatically go, like, 14-3 like Dak did his first year or anything like that. And at the time, it was 13-3 because, one less game. But still, it is very hard to find a QB that just like that would make that much of an impact. And I think mostly was just like how Brock Purdy, he was in the right system. He had all the tools.
Right.
He had the line. He had the run game. Granted, Brock Purdy has a much better defense than Dak did.
Yes.
But for the most part, he has the pieces to already bring that success in day one.
Absolutely. I absolutely agree.
And talking with Tom Brady, you know, another guy's future that's up in the air is Aaron Rodgers. A lot of people think this is his last year with Green Bay, and there's rumors saying that he wants to be traded to an AFC team. There's rumors of that, and also Green Bay, if they get the right offer, are considering trading Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad move at all. They need to be in full rebuild.
I think so, especially you drafted Jordan Love, and we already knew it's like, okay, they're going to, like, you know, Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, you know, that was the same move that a lot of people were thinking. The issue I have is how much longer they kept Rodgers and pushing Jordan Love in the back burner. Because then it's getting to a point like then you wasted a pick on him when it was one thing with the fact you traded up. I mean,
Right.
most likely he was going to be in the second round, but the fact that you traded up and was kind of a reach for him, for a guy that maybe would have been in the later rounds and you still haven't used him or anything, that's the issue. And then not to mention, you know, they lost Devontae Adams. They lost, was it Michael Scanton or some?
Yeah.
They lost him. Granted, Christian Watson, I do think he will be a very good number one day.
Yeah. Yeah, he just needs to develop a little more. He's a rookie.
And I think the huge thing was, linebacker. He went to Green Bay.
Oh, yeah. Which guy? Oh, the guy who went to Green... Oh, you mean, golly, now I can't think of the name either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I don't know, the rookie or...
No. He was originally with the Green Bay Packers and then went to the Vikings.
Oh, you're talking about Zadarius
Smith. I think that was a huge loss. More
They
than
missed
people think for that defense.
Their defense was really, really missing out on him.
Yeah.
The entire season, you could see, like, their run game would just get gashed. The Lions in the last game just gashed them in the run.
Yeah.
And you wonder why. It's because, well, Zadarius Smith is gone, plus Quay Walker got ejected, and they just fell apart.
Right.
They fell apart, and they just looked unmotivated. And then Aaron Rodgers couldn't get it done because he's missing all his weapons. And he's missing his reads. I think he's washed. I really do. I just don't think he's the same guy that he used to be.
I mean, we've said that, you know, time and time again about Rodgers and Brady before.
True.
I mean, you never know. I do think he may not be age might be starting to get to him little by little, but I do also think, you know, he doesn't have that, you know, Devontae Adams where he's like, all right, I'm just going to chuck it to him and he's probably going to get it.
Right. He doesn't have that guy to get those.
He doesn't have that guy. Now, we'll see if he does get traded to another team and see how that goes and everything. Because, you know, either he'll prove us wrong and say that he's not washed and he's still got it, or it's going to be like Russell Wilson and they draft an entire future away and pretty much are in salary cap hell for it.
Yeah, that went well with the Broncos. Holy cow.
Yeah.
Broncos country.
Let's die.
Let's die.
So, coming up, as we are coming close to the end, obviously, you know, the most important thing coming up this weekend, both AFC and NFC championship games.
Yep. We made it.
Now
finally. How?
Now we got, you know, of course, the usual biggest matchup. Well, pretty much biggest matchup on both sides. 49ers, Eagles, and then Bengals and Chiefs.
Bengals and Chiefs back at it again. This is like the fifth time in a row.
About
My
the
goodness.
fifth
They
time.
keep on coming back. It always ends up back with those two, no
It
matter
always
what.
ends up with those two.
They sold those Chiefs and Bills tickets, and look where it happened. Like, look what
what
ended
happened.
up. Like, it wasn't it.
I know.
Bills weren't there. They just weren't there.
I think the biggest thing is, like, how healthy is Patrick Mahomes going to be? Because we saw him go down that game against Jacksonville with that ankle injury.
He's a pirate. He's straight up a pirate. He's just gonna, if he has to put like a wooden peg on there, he's gonna put a wooden peg on there and keep on going. He's Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, he's Patrick Mahomes, and he even showed, like, even with, you know, one good leg, he was still a threat as Patrick Mahomes just being Patrick Mahomes.
It's just that rocket of an arm, you know?
I mean, he's got Travis Kelce. I mean, like, he's a receiver playing tight end.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got Travis Kelce. Even without Tyreek Hill, their offense is still lethal.
Yeah.
If not, I feel like their offense this year is better than when they had Tyreek Hill. Because I feel like Patrick Mahomes is playing a lot smarter than he did with Tyreek Hill. Because you even remember a lot of times, he'd feel like, all right, Tyreek Hill's got speed, maybe I can get it to him, and he would force it a lot of times.
Yeah.
Now he's making the right reads, and a lot of times, like, all right, let me give it to Kelce. He's going to get, run after catch yards, and eventually someone else is going to be open.
Yeah. He's playing a lot smarter, and you've seen the turnover's been limited this time. It's a lot different than it was last year. I think I have this feeling about it just feels like year 2 for the Bengals. Mm-hmm. Because you have Patrick Mahomes, they're going to be able to contain him. They still have the same. Their pass rush has been solid. Mm-hmm. While not incredible, it's been good enough. Yeah. Unlike the Jaguars, which completely disappeared in that second half. Mm-hmm. I think they just know how to scheme against the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. And I think what the Jaguars did, and we saw this with the Bengals, every time they've played him, they don't rush Mahomes. Because they know what happens if you rush Mahomes.
He's going to run out of the pocket.
He runs out of the pocket, gets first down. Yeah. It's the same thing every time. He gashes you. Yeah. What do? They put a little contain on him, just a tiny little bit of contain. Put 3 guys rushing him, play that 3-4, and then put the other guys in the backfield to cover Travis Kelce and the other receivers.
Right.
I think that has to be the move.
Right.
Surely, because I think with this time, because they know the strategy already that works, one-legged Mahomes isn't going to be able to get out of the pocket anyway.
Right.
Might as well send all your guys to the back. The Bengals already know how to scheme against him, and they've beaten him. They're 4-0?
4-0 with Joe Burrow. Since Joe Burrow's played them, they're 4-0.
I don't know what. It's just, that is their kryptonite.
Right.
The Bengals just know how to scheme against them.
Scheme. And Joe Burrow, Joe Burrow's Joe Burrow. He is that guy for them.
Yeah,
especially
he's
with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins.
Yeah, he has his threats on offense. Granted, his offensive line is still...
It comes down again. It's the same situation last year. It's like... How is the offensive line going to do?
I mean, he's not as bad as it was. 4 sacks is better than 9. Just saying. But.
Right. But even say if they do make it to the Super Bowl, it's like you're going to have to face the Eagles or the 49ers, which both have one of the top defensive lines in the game right now.
Yeah. I don't know. I have this weird feeling that the Bengals are going to do a Bills. Mm-hmm. I don't know. There's just some weird feeling that I feel like the Bengals are there, but not, they're missing a piece.
Right.
Which is their offensive line.
Right.
And I feel like no matter how much they bolster it, they're just still going to lack it. And so I have my Super Bowl prediction locked in as the Bengals and Eagles.
Okay.
I have that locked in because I think the Eagles are better than the Niners. They're more complete as a team.
They're more complete. They're playing at home. They're playing against a rookie QB. They know what they're going to throw at him. They're going to try to confuse him. They're going to throw everything they got at him. Granted, their offensive line is one of the best. I think at the end of the day, Fletcher Cox and Jordan Davis, it's just going to be...
What can you do against those guys?
It's going to be too much for them.
It's despite the Niners' offensive line.
Despite the Niners' offensive line, but then you have James Bradbury and Darius Slay on the other side of the ball. It's like...
They have that secondary which can expose the Niners. Plus, the Niners just haven't been able to get past the NFC Championship game.
Well, not only that, but it's like everyone's hyping them up, and it's like they finally faced a competent defense in the Cowboys. They finally kind of exposed the 49ers, like, okay, you're not playing chump teams in the Seahawks anymore. You are now getting into the real deal.
Yeah, and Dallas's defense is legit.
It is. It did as much as it could, and now you're going against an actual competent team with the Eagles. Not to mention they absolutely derailed the Giants. So it's I don't care how good the 49ers defense is. I just think the Eagles offense this year is better. Boston Scott is going off.
Yeah.
And you still have Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, and Jalen Hurts.
Yeah. Yeah, so are you locked in on a
I'm locked in with the Phillies.
Philly?
I'm locked in with Philly. My final score is going to be 42-7.
Wow.
I'm that confident in Philly.
I don't think it's going to be... Well, because they're better than the Giants, I'll tell you that. They are better than the Giants.
35-14.
Okay. I'm going to lock in mine.
Mainly, just solely because they're playing at home.
That's fair, and I can see that. I think Eagles will win 24-17 because I think the Niners will do everything to keep it competitive. I think Jalen Hurts is going to have a tougher time than people think because he's having to face that kind of pressure. And he hasn't been facing it.
Well, not only that, but also, how's his shoulder as well. But even then, he can still use his legs, though. But that 49ers defense can run. Fred Warner is going to get after you. Nick Bosa is going to get after you.
Yeah, but I still think he will stand in the pocket and deliver his throws, and the running game can still go off. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if things go differently because we haven't really seen Jalen Hurts play against incredible rushing. Mm-hmm. Like, he played Dallas, and he kind of struggled. Mm-hmm. Like, when Jalen Hurts played Dallas, he struggled.
Right.
Gardner Minshew went off, but that's because our defense was just getting gashed left and right. That was a different story. Right. But when you saw them play Dallas the first time, he only scored 26 points, and that was toward the end. Dallas was up with the lead, and people forget that.
Yeah.
I think the telltale sign is going to be how well is Jalen Hurts going to be against a legit defense because we haven't seen much of that.
Right.
Giants didn't really have that. Mm-hmm. They had no answers. Right. And then same thing with the 49ers just have a really good bolstering run defense. Mm-hmm. How good is Boston Scott and Miles Sanders? How well are they able to run against this 49ers defense? That's going to be the true test. Yeah. I still picked the Eagles by 10. Yeah. Or no, by 7 was what I had. By 7? Yeah, I can't count.
24-17.
Yeah,
7.
I can't count. But anyway, yeah, if all the cards align, it should be the Eagles are a more talented roster, a more complete team. Mm-hmm. So therefore, I'd send the Eagles. How about the AFC? Where are you going?
I mean, that's tough. Mm-hmm. It's Kansas City playing at home.
Right.
I know the Bengals right now have owned Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes is injured. Mm-hmm. But I do think there's always that chant. I mean, streaks are meant to be broken.
Right.
And I think, even 50% of Patrick Mahomes is still better than, he's still good.
Yeah.
Even 50% of Patrick Mahomes is still good. And they were still good even with Chad Henne, out of all people.
Yeah, Chad Henne just went off.
Yeah. So I think even, if worse comes to worse, I mean, yeah, that would still be tough to beat with Chad Henne. But even then, I think, I think Patrick Mahomes is going to play smart. I don't think he's going to be, I don't think he's going to try to, force it or try to run out of the pocket, especially with the ankle injury. But granted, that is going to leave him okay, now the defense is going to try to go after him and exploit his ankle injury. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I do think, he has Travis Kelce. I do think Patrick Mahomes is, smart enough and quick enough to just get rid of the ball before the defense gets to him.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Kansas City.
Okay.
But I do think it's going to be close.
Okay.
Because, I mean, it's Joe Burrow. He's always kept it competitive with them no matter what.
Right.
I think it's going to be 20-24.
Okay. Lock it in. Yeah. Lock it in. I'm taking a different approach. Mm-hmm. Mainly because it's partly because of the streak, but because I feel even more confident because they were talking about Travis Kelce having a little bit of an injury too. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that was true. I don't know what was going on with him. If there was a little nick of an injury though. Mm-hmm. That connection is going to be just a little bit more off. Plus, Patrick Mahomes can't scramble.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes can't move outside the pocket. Patrick Mahomes isn't Patrick Mahomes without his legs.
Right.
He's just not.
Right.
I think that the true test is going to be, do the Bengals keep with their same scheme that they always use?
Right.
And I think that they do.
Right.
They've done it 4 times already. Who's to say they can't do it a 5th?
Right.
I think what's going to end up happening is the Bengals will exploit them.
Right.
The Bengals will exploit the relatively weak Chiefs secondary, which they always have. Jamar Chase just runs all over them every time. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the same outcome, and it's probably going to be worse this time. I'm going to pick the Bengals in a pretty lopsided win. I'm going to go 34-21. Mm-hmm. I think it's just going to be lopsided. I just think the Bengals have more firepower. We saw them put up so much against the Bills, who we thought that was the game of the week. Game of the week, and that was a blowout.
Well, even then, a lot of people thought it's the Bills are going to blow out the Bengals because, Josh Allen, and, granted, they struggled, but it's they're playing for DeMar Hamlin and everything.
Right. There was just a storyline. Everything was going up to it, and I just think the Bengals are better. Right now, where they are right now, they haven't lost a game since October. I just think they're better. I think they're more hot right now than Kansas City is because Kansas City's kind of limping their way to this game. I have the Bengals by a lot, which would leave us... I guess would leave you with Chiefs and Eagles.
Right.
and would leave me with Bengals and Eagles. And I would take, I hate to say it, and as a Cowboys fan, it sucks. I'd pick the Eagles over the Bengals just because they're more complete.
I would pick the Eagles as well. Like, despite the different AFC outcome, I'm going to have the Eagles. They're just too good. They're too complete. They're too well balanced. They're too well coached. It's just, like, this is just, it's the Eagles' year for sure.
Yep.
No one has had an answer for them, and it might be a possible dynasty in the making for them.
Yeah, which is, I hate
because they have the, what was it? They have like a top 10 pick.
That's oh my gosh, they do have a top 10
They have a top 10 pick.
As a Cowboys fan, I'm just
they have a top 10 pick this year, and of course their own first overall pick. So they're gonna have 2 first rounders.
That's gonna hurt.
And literally, right now, a lot of mock drafts are saying they're gonna get a running back in the top 10.
Oh my gosh, even worse for us. It's like they're gonna run all over everybody. They're just good. They're just that good. They're just a good.
They're just building that culture again.
Yeah, they're coming back, and I hate to say it, that's going to leave the NFC East to be a really, really tough division because you have Eagles still competing, Commanders are trying to rise up and do something. Mm-hmm. Giants had no roster talent, but Brian Dable is just incredible.
I think Brian Dable is their man.
I
think not right now, but I do think he is going to bring them like consistent playoff appearances, and maybe a Super Bowl.
He knows how to finish games.
But definitely, I do think he is going to bring them a lot of playoff appearances. He's going to bring more winning seasons and a much better winning culture than they had with Joe Judge or Ben McAdoo.
Right, and I think that's, as a Cowboys fan, I don't know how we can make the playoffs with the incredible division that we have.
Right.
Maybe we can sneak in as a 7-seed wild card, going like 10-7, 9-8. Right. That's about the only thing I see. Unless something happens and the Giants just collapse, they have some. I mean, even with the injury bug, they were still good.
They're still good.
What if the Eagles get banged up? I guess maybe, but I don't know. It's just a complete division, head to toe. Every single team is competitive.
Right.
We saw that this year, and we're gonna see it next year because it's just such a complete division,
right?
Head to toe.
Right.
So yeah, we both have the Eagles. I don't think there's any other team that you could pick right now that's more hot than the Eagles unless you pick the Bengals, which I could see.
Or maybe the 49ers, maybe that defense, and maybe Brock Purdy really does get it done, and maybe he does something that hasn't been done before. A rookie winning a Super Bowl and everything.
Maybe that could happen. You never know.
We never know. I mean, this season has been crazy enough. I mean, that could happen.
It would be such a storyline ending, too, to see the rookie, the untested, unproven Mr. Irrelevant to win a Super Bowl. That would be a storyline. That would really tie up what this season.
That would be the storyline for the ages. Or the Bengals, out of their misery that they've had.
The 0-2 start that they had to make it to the Super Bowl.
Not only that, the misery that they've had for nearly half a century. It felt like, there was a point in time where they hadn't won a playoff game since the 80s.
Yeah, and then to get all the way here, it might be their time.
And redemption for what happened last year.
Yeah, they were so close. It was on Eli Apple's shoulders. So right. I'll tell you that.
Well, not only that, but also at the final play, Jamar Chase, he was gone. If it wasn't for the fact that the O-line,
sold him
brought
again.
The controversy. It's like, okay, should they draft Penei Sewell or Jamar Chase? I do think Jamar Chase was the right pick. Because, as long as you have, it's hard to find a receiver. Not only, he already has a connection with him.
Yeah.
But it's hard enough to find, generational type receivers.
Like that? That was incredible. He was incredible.
Yeah.
Jamar Chase was that guy.
Linemen, it's I know, it's you want to find that. You want to find your Trent Williams or Tyron Smith when he was in his prime and everything.
Right.
You want to find those guys. But at the end of the day, it's as long as you have, a solid, competent own line that, won't leave your quarterback getting hit every single time and at least, can let the run game be, I think that's the main thing. As long as they protect your quarterback, you should be fine. And I think O-line is always that tough thing to do. It's always it's another tough position to find because it's not easy to find the guy that is, that Trent Williams or Zach Martin or heck, if we want to even go back even further, Larry Allen or someone.
No kidding. I think that's very, very true.
Yeah.
There's just, you're not going to have that come out of most linemen. Most of them are hit or miss in the draft. That's just how they are.
That's just how it is.
Yeah. But let us know what y'all think.
with that, so that brings us to the end of the podcast. Hope y'all enjoy it.
Thanks for tuning in. I hope you had a fun time. Catch y'all on the next one.
Peace.